Hey everybody, what's going on? For today's review, we'll be taking you out on a test drive in the all-new 2012 Ford Focus SEL Hatchback. The purpose of this test drive is to demonstrate the overall road manners of the all-new Focus in both city and highway driving conditions. Throughout the test drive, we will be discussing many of the performance capabilities of the all-new engine, as well as taking a look at a few of the interior creature comforts that this vehicle has to offer. So, now that we have all of that information in mind, let's go ahead and start the engine and take you on a drive. Our test vehicle today has the white platinum metallic tri-coat exterior. Combined with a special edition charcoal black and Arctic white two-tone leather interior. Specially engraved aluminum skid plates, as well as custom embroidered floor mats. Now let's go ahead and set you guys up in the back and take you out on a drive. Away we go. I can already tell you that the first part of our little test drive today will be a little bit rougher than normal because the streets around here are under construction and they're not the smoothest of surfaces right at the moment. The first thing that strikes you about the all-new Focus is the amount of technology that now graces the interior of the vehicle. Beforehand, and it's been said many times, the interior of the 2011 and previous generation Focuses always felt like, well, more like a cheap airport rental car. But in this, you feel like you're surrounded by just a whole bunch of computers, which in essence you actually are. In this SEL model, we've got the all-new My Ford Touch system. We've got a computerized dual-zone climate control system with automatic air conditioning. We've got all radio cruise control settings. We've got this really sporty-looking steering wheel with these great little grip assists and all the color match stitching to match the special Arctic white interior. Now, one thing that people did complain about in a previous review of the all-new Focus that I did was that in the edition that I reviewed, which was the SE trim, the dashboard looked very similar to that of the Ford Fiesta. Well, now, as you can see, Ford has completely done away with that for the SEL and even the titanium models, being the sense that we now have this really nice, almost black lacquer finish for the My Ford Touch area, as well as the different screen setup and everything like that. Your power door lock switch is now here in the center, which is actually very nice. Now, this variation of the My Ford Touch system isn't necessarily like its bigger specimens in the all-new 2011 Explorer, the all-new 2011 Ford Edge, and so on. The only real touch part about this system is the actual screen up here, which is displayed by 4 different colored tabs in the 4 corners of the screen. In your upper left, you have the ability to synchronize your phone. It's a yellow tab. The green tab in the upper right-hand corner is for all of your navigation and sync information. Your blue tab down here in the lower right-hand corner is for your different climate controls, which, like I said, are dual zone. And over here on the lower left-hand corner, you have your audio controls as noted by a red tab. Now for a little bit about the powertrain of the all-new Focus. Beforehand, Ford simply introduced a single overhead cam 2-liter inline 4-cylinder engine with about 140 horsepower, and it really just was not the most reliable, nor was it the most smooth of all engines that has ever been put into the Focus. What we have now is an all-new 2-liter GDI, or gasoline direct injection, inline 4-cylinder, and they've upped the power to 160 horsepower and 148 foot-pounds of torque. Now, while that may not seem like much, it still does equate to some rather impressive fuel economy. On the highway, you can get upwards of 40 miles per gallon, and in the city, between 27 to 28 miles to the gallon. So either way you slice it, you're going to be getting some very decent gas mileage for such a small car. And that's certainly a big plus in the market nowadays, especially with gas prices being what they are. Small cars, for the big and the tall people to the shortest of people, are really the in kind of thing now. And really, fuel efficiency has been a big thing for all major car companies, regardless of what exactly they make. Granted, like supercars and stuff, but that's a whole different story. You look at Ford Motor Company already, it's not only the new Focus, but you've got the new EcoBoost project for the new F-150s. You've got the standard naturally aspirated 3.5 twin independent variable cam timing V6 that you've got in the new Edge. You've got it in the new Explorer. And then even so into their luxury departments, like the new MKX and the MKS, which have a 3.7-liter V6, also equipped with the twin independent variable cam timing. The MKS is a little different because it's a Duratec 24-valve V6, not the twin independent variable cam timing. But in any event, fuel economy is really the name of the game, and the new Focus certainly delivers on all levels. Now, one thing that you might find, and it's not so much a negative, but it is something, that you might find a little hesitant, is the transmission. It's a 6-speed Powershift automatic with the availability of a 5-speed manual transmission in some of the more basic models. Now, when you first put it in gear, when you're stationary, it might take a little bit of persuasion to get the vehicle going. But that being said, it's certainly nothing that affects the overall drivability of the car. Now, the new Powershift transmission delivers lightning-fast shifts when in manual mode. It is equipped with Ford's Select Shift automatic option, which means that you simply knock it down into the sport mode here, pull it all the way back, knock it down a couple cocks, and you will get some fireworks. Now, technically, you really can't hear that engine because there is a little bit of road noise, and we also have the AC on, but when you really open it up, it really does come alive, and it's actually quite perky for such a small engine. Now, in all Focus trims, regardless of whether it's the S, SE, SEL, or even the Titanium, they all come with the same engine, with the exception of only one. All trim levels will come with the 2-liter gas direct injection inline 4-cylinder. The only exception to that is coming in late 2011 or early 2012, or even mid-2012, and that is the all-new Ford Focus ST. Now, ST, don't really know what that means. However, that vehicle will be using a 2-liter turbocharged EcoBoost inline 4-cylinder engine, and that one provides 225 brake horsepower. Now, in any event, that could be enough to cause a torque steer nightmare. Now, for those of you who don't know what torque steer is, let me give you a little explanation. Torque steer is essentially something that happens in many front-wheel drive vehicles, in where it has so much power that when you put your foot to the ground, the steering wheel wants to fight you, and it wants to go in different directions, and basically the power is then in control of the front wheels, not you with the steering wheel. On the other side of that, torque steer can be very controllable, but you have to have a will of iron not to want to floor it all the time. And the Focus is not necessarily something that wants to be floored all the time. It's just something that it's something that, is meant to kind of piddle-putt around town and just get better fuel economy. Now, you're probably wondering, what's the significance of the Arctic white inserts in the dash and in the leather seats and everything like that? Well, the Arctic White package that we have in this particular unit here is actually part of an interior design package that Ford has put together for the all-new Focus. Now, you have two different options. You can, or essentially three. If you decide to go for a solid color interior, there are a couple of variations, and there also are cloth seats available up to the SEL, which the SEL is standard with leather only. Now, the colors that you have to choose from are, like I said, you only have two options. You have the Arctic White, which we have here. In special cases, there actually is a third option, which is kind of this dark blue color. But then after that, you have what's called Tuscan Red, and it's sort of a maroon-ish kind of color. Most people might not say it's attractive. It's not as vibrant as many red interiors that people have seen before, but it certainly does add quite a nice little touch to the interior when it's put in the right setting. For today's review, I think, however, the Arctic White suits this white platinum metallic tri-coat exterior very well. Seems we've run into a little bit of traffic here, but no matter. So this gives us a good opportunity. We'll knock it down into sport, engage first gear, wait for an opening, and then we'll let you get a little taste of what this Focus is like when you, as they say, open the taps a little bit. Alright, let's give it the beans. Had to slow down a little bit. This PT Loser, as they call it, just pulled out in front of us. Let's see if we can find the space here. Now, it certainly does not get up to speed in the quickest of ways, meaning that it only has 160 horsepower. But it's just so smooth. It's really one of those cars that you really have to drive for yourself to know what I'm talking about. Because many people, from a back seat perspective, they might find it rough, but it really depends on the surface of the road that you're actually going over. Let's knock our transmission back into drive here, and just set sail back for our starting point. Now, one thing I did want to point out, you might have noticed it already, you'll notice a word up here on top of this little wheel. It says Sony. Well, the Sony stereo system only is available with the My Ford Touch system. And in this case, this being the hatch, and also it is available in the sedan version as well, it comes with a factory Sony 8-inch subwoofer in the trunk. And let me tell you, it's really not bad. Now, in a traditional setting like the Explorer or the Edge, this screen would actually be fully touchscreen. But unfortunately, it really doesn't live up to the touch name that was given to it when it was put into cars like the Edge and things like that. Reason being that you saw that I had to push these buttons here, the sound and the source button, to engage different menus. One other advantage, I don't know if you just saw it, but the Focus is actually quite an advantage, being that it is a smaller vehicle, that it can squeeze into those ever tight spaces that you may have when you come up into traffic like we just did. Now, some Focuses, if they're really loaded out, this one's pretty loaded out, but if you get one with a few more options like than this one, you actually have the availability of a one-touch automatic sunroof, which I don't know how many people actually prefer that kind of thing. Many people don't prefer sunroofs, especially in Texas weather, being that according to the little thermometer here in our center display, it says 109, but I know that's not exactly true because the thermometer in my friend's car on my way to work this morning was telling me that it was only 100. So, yeah. So, in a nutshell, what exactly do you get for your options when you come to buy a Focus? Well, like I said before, you really have choice of 4 separate trim levels. You have the S, which is essentially the base model Focus. The S is only available in a sedan version. You cannot get a base model hatch. If you want a hatchback as a base, you'd have to get what's called the SE. Now, the SE is available in 2 different modes. There's the SE, and then there's what's called the SFE. Now, the F is only standard for the fuel efficient package, or the fuel efficiency package, and that boosts your miles per gallon from 38 or 37, depending on your transmission, up to the full 40 miles to the gallon. Now, even in that situation, it really doesn't make a whole lot of difference, but it does transform the engine from what is called a UZEV, or Ultra Zero Emissions Vehicle, or, pardon me, scratch that, it's called ULEV, or ULEV, that's Ultra Low Emissions Vehicle, and then you get what's called the PZEV, which is the Partial Zero Emissions Vehicle. And it really doesn't change anything in your engine. It really doesn't change it in terms of performance. It still puts out the same amount of horsepower, the same amount of torque. But at the same time, you get better fuel economy out of it, which is certainly a plus in anybody's case nowadays. So now that we've hit a bit of road, kind of slow it down a bit, and I'll show you what I meant by torque steer. So we get the wheel in a dead ahead position, foot hard down. Now you see it pulls to the right ever so slightly, but you saw how straight it kept until it really got up to speed. And it's only when it gets up to speed that it really, the power starts to take over the front wheels. But there are other vehicles out there pertaining to examples like the Mazda Speed 3. Now that vehicle, although it's almost the same size as this, has almost 270 horsepower through a turbo inline 4. Now that would be a prime example of what would cause a lot of torque steer. Even over in Europe, there's a different Focus called the RS, or the RS 500. And those have 300 plus horsepower. Now that's torque steer waiting to happen at a constant moment. Well, sorry to say, viewers, our test drive has now come to a close. As they say, all good things must come to an end, as we've arrived back here at our starting point. However, I do hope you've enjoyed this test drive of the all-new 2012 Ford Focus SEL. If you wish to contact your local Ford dealer about it, or find out any more information about the new Focus, visit FordVehicles.com and feel free to customize your own, or simply to schedule a test drive and find out much more information about the Focus and see it in person. Schedule a test drive with your local Ford dealer wherever you may be. Until then, viewers, stay tuned to Grand Prix GTPO2's channel for more reports, reviews, and test drives, and I will see you guys later.